When I see somebody of massive success, I always want to look back and I want to see what their journey looked like. How many times did they fail to hit that level of success? As the great Ty Lopez once said, you know what I like more than materialistic things?
Knowledge.
Today I want to talk to you about some of the most impactful books that I've read. Each of these books helped shape me and got me where I am today. One of the reasons I read so many books is because books to me are the last great hope. The greatest minds have all written books. In each one of those books, there's golden nuggets. There's one or two pieces of information that you can take and apply immediately in your life. That's what I've done. When I read a whole book, I don't take everything in that book. I take the one or two things that I need at that exact moment, and I apply them. I often go back and read books a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth time, because each time I need something different. This is like the greatest hack there ever has been. If you're watching the news for your information, stop. Start reading, because that's where the truth is. But before we get into my favorite books, I'd like to ask you to like and subscribe this channel. While you're at it, smash that alerts button so you're notified every time I put a new one up. So let's dive into some of my favorite books. The first one, The Richest Man in Babylon. This book, I read just a few years ago, but I've read it probably 5 times now. In this book are the laws of gold. I have then taken what he taught in the book and I've turned it into the 6 laws of wealth in modern day times. But he teaches you about the 10% rule and how you should keep 10% of what you make. Then how you should make that money go to work for you instead of you working for money. He talks about protecting your wealth and how to never get greedy and always be realistic with your money. He teaches the art of giving and how that's the ultimate. And at the end, he talks about what is your legacy. And he does it in a way that relates so well to what we're doing in today's times. I highly recommend you read The Richest Man in Babylon and take from it what you need right now. The next book I'd like to talk about is The One Thing. This book was incredibly powerful for me. So in this book, The One Thing, there's a story about a father and a son. And the son came to his dad and said to him, "Dad, you don't spend enough time with me." And the father knew that this was true, so his dad said, "Tomorrow we're going to spend the entire day together." Now the dad had a ritual like so many other parents, and he liked to drink his coffee and read the business section in the paper. So he got up extra early the next day, started reading the paper, and to his surprise, his son woke up even earlier and pulled the paper down and said, "Dad, come on, let's play." The father wanted to finish his morning ritual, so he came up with a quick idea about creating a game for his son. And he said to his son, he said, "Son, let's do this. Let's put together a puzzle, and as soon as we're done with the puzzle, then we'll go outside and play." The father was sure that he'd buy himself some time to finish the business section. In that newspaper that he was reading was a picture of the world, and he tore it up into a bunch of pieces and he put it on a glass top table. Well, the son dove in enthusiastically, starting to do this. Father dove back into his paper, and very quickly, within minutes, the son pulled the paper down and said, Dad, I'm done." The father looked down at the table, and sure enough, there it was. The picture perfectly intact, not a piece out of place. The father was confused and said to the son, "How on earth did you do that?" Because the father didn't think it was possible. The son simply said this, "Dad, I almost gave up. It was really hard. But a piece fell on the floor, and when I looked up, through the glass top table, I saw the picture of what looked to be a man. And when I put the man together, the world took shape." This book summarizes how the one thing could be all you need to put the world together. So the next book that truly shaped my life is this one right here, by the late R. Nelson Nash, Becoming Your Own Banker. Now, what's so unique about this book is it literally brought a concept that had been around for hundreds of years to the middle class, to the average person, and allowed us to do what banks do. But really what it taught is a concept called the infinite banking concepts. And this concept is simple. It's the process of taking back the banking functions in your life. In the very beginning of the book, he summarizes how if you gave somebody $1 million, within 10 years, 97% of all of that money would go back to the place where it originally started. Why is that? It's because we've been taught to give up control of our money. We have never been taught to keep control of our money and keep it in an enclosed system that we create. This book Becoming Your Own Banker tells you how to do that by changing just one thing, and that is where your money goes first. And that puts you in full control and allows you to take back the banking functions in your life. This book will change everything for your financial future. So check it out. So the next book I want to talk about is a book that I didn't read, I actually listened to it. It's the Steve Jobs Biography. Now, I guess I'll start by saying Steve Jobs has always been a hero of mine. What he was able to accomplish, the things he said and the impossibilities that he overcame always drew me in. I mean, think about it. Think about what he did and what he did with Apple. He changed the world. He changed the world by doing something that was, to most people, viewed as the impossible. And he overcame so many failures during the process. When I see somebody of massive success, I always want to look back and I want to see what their journey looked like. How many times did they fail to hit that level of success? Now, the saddest part about the Steve Jobs biography is he worked his entire life. He gave up so much, including relationships with his daughter, that he, I think, gave the ultimate sacrifice. He gave up everything to change the world. Now, whether you agree with that or disagree with that, very few people in life will ever do that. And he talks about, in that book, how he did it and how he literally had a reality distortion field when he talked to people. People just could not think of the impossible when talking to Steve Jobs. He wouldn't allow them to. He ended up passing away from cancer before he completed his work, but he passed it down. And he passed down with him a legacy that I think is unmatched. I really suggest reading that book. And don't just read it for the enjoyment of reading or listening to a book, but actually learn from his failures and learn from his sacrifices. Is that something you're willing to do? Are you willing to sacrifice what Steve Jobs did to change the world? The next book I really enjoyed, but I enjoyed it for a different reason than maybe you will. It's called 501k. It was written by an author by the name of Ted Benna. Now, what you will find when you read this book is you'll find out that Ted Benna was the original gentleman who came up with the 401k idea. The concept of the 401k, which, as we all know today, is a tax code for a retirement plan that most all of you put money into. But let's talk a little bit about what the 501k says that you would never expect from the founder of the 401k. You see, the first chapter of the 501k, he talks about what is equivalent to the Swiss Army knife in the financial world. This whole book is about different financial strategies and different ways to accumulate wealth, but in non-traditional ways. You see, what the 401k became is not what he envisioned. The government took his idea and morphed it into something that they wanted that benefited them, and it doesn't benefit you. You've just been taught that it does. If you read this book, 501k, you'll learn what the Swiss Army knife of the financial world is, but you'll also learn a lot of non-traditional ways and non-traditional vehicles where your money can go to work for you. I highly recommend the 501k, and I think what you'll take out of the book will not be what you expect before you begin. Now, my next book recommendation is one that I'm sure all of you have read, or at least I hope you have. It's called the Bible. So the book is an interesting book because it really talks about the ultimate, and that is love. But also talks a lot about forgiveness. It talks about the journey. And he talks about everything on all these different lessons in parables, in ways that you can understand and apply in your own life. But as I read the Bible and the different parts of the Bible, I can't absorb it all at once. I have to read it in sections and apply those sections. This book is a book that I think all of you should never just read once, because I think it's a book that you read throughout your lifetime. When you need to love more or be loved more, this is the book you pick up. When you feel resentful or you feel harmed, this is the book you pick up to learn how to forgive and forget. This is the book you also pick up when you need guidance in every aspect of how you should live your life to be purposeful and how you should live your life to be happy. I don't think there's any book I could ever recommend that will give you the true guidance on finding the ultimate happiness in your life. So if you haven't read the Bible, start now. But don't just pick it up to try to burn through it as quick as you can to say, oh, I read the Bible. Pick it up go to the section that's applicable for what it is you need right now, and start there. See, the beautiful thing about the Bible is you don't need to start at the beginning. You could literally start at the end and work your way in reverse order, and you'll get the same thing out of it. The Bible is one of those books that will truly change your life, and that I guarantee you. So this next book is a book that I think every one of you should read or listen to. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now, I can't think of a whole lot of other books that are more impactful than this one. One of the things that Napoleon Hill talks about, and the whole story is far more than I can explain here, but he said if you can dream it and you believe in it, then you can achieve it. Now that's a mindset thing. That's all it is. The whole book talks about success, but reverse engineers it down to you believing that you can succeed. And it talks about overcoming failures. It talks about how you actually go through the success process. And they do it in a unique way, in a way that Napoleon Hill went around and interviewed all the wealthy people of the times. And what he learned by interviewing them was not what he actually thought success was. See, he learned that each of these people failed many times, but how they overcame obstacles in the pursuit of their happiness, and not just happiness, but also their success, is what really mattered. The other thing the book talks about is mastering the art of persistence. See, a lot of these incredibly successful people talked about in this book, the one commonality that they all had was they were persistent and consistent in their action. And they never let anybody stand in their way or tell them that they couldn't. And they failed. But each failure hid the lessons that they needed to success. I think this book can really teach you a lot about how you will succeed and what you need to do to get to that point. The common theme that unites all of these books together is the pursuit to personal growth, financial empowerment, and to your success. Each of these books gives you the pieces that you will need to get to that goal. So comment below which book has changed your life. And while you're at it, why not like and subscribe this channel so that I can continue to keep putting content out for you. And if you like this video, then you'll love this one. 5 great money lessons to teach your kids. See you on the next one.